A common thread throughout the comment sections on all my other mech videos that I'm personally inclined to agree with is that the most probable evolutionary avenue for combat mechs would be of a civilian utility, industrial and/or commercial platform simply adapted for combat. See the Toyota Hilux, Russian battle tractors, the US military's combat bulldozer, and modified crop duster replacement for the A-10 for some real-world examples. And across fiction, see Obsolete's Exos, Titanfall's Titans, 40K's Imperial Knights, and the whole category of industrial mechs from Battletech. And while they're probably correct from a realistic standpoint, at least in the economic and logistical sense, since that's not the point of my little thought experiment, I didn't really give it much more thought than that. But then somebody said something on the prototype video that gave me an image of a bunch of teens playing paintball atop some sort of skeletal exo frame, and my inner child sort of took over the reins from there until I came up with what I thought was a workable design schema for, effectively, a walking motorcycle/UTV. Since what makes this a plausible origin story for warfighting mechs is that they're an already cheap, plentiful, and easily adaptable resource, that a military could just grab any existing stockpile and strap whatever ordnance they want to it, with the added bonus that most of their soldiers would already be familiar and proficient in its use. Needless to say, making a walking exosuit for common civilian use is going to be a completely different animal than one made exclusively for combat. So where should we start? Well, first and most obviously, it has to be cheap, as no matter how high the product quality or the demand for it is, if 90% of the population can't afford it, it's going to flop like a fish on leg day. And in that same vein, second place on the product development list goes to convenience. How easy is it to integrate the thing into the normal working routines of society? Be they industrial, commercial, residential, or recreational, makes no substantive difference. For evolutionary reasons I've described more thoroughly elsewhere, people want things cheap and easy. And by that same token, they also want things to show off to their friends and to impress potential mates. That's why they'll go into debt for a new TV, smartphone, a bigger car, or a house, etc. As such, we must also jointly consider our mech's marketability and fashionableness. Why would people want to be seen in public riding one of these things? What social currency would they gain by having a fleet of them parked in their driveway? To that same end, in order to appeal to the broadest possible spectrum of demographics, we'll want the thing to come standard as highly adaptable to a wide variety of applications, as well as be easily customizable in the aftermarket, which means it should be readily accepting of off-the-shelf parts and be relatively difficult to break beyond repair. And of course, it also needs to be relatively low maintenance, have a low operational skill ceiling, ideally so low the average teen or child can pilot it without dying, and be cross-compatible with as wide a variety of existing technologies as possible to smoothen the integration process as we mentioned before. To sum all that up, we need a robust, rugged, aesthetically pleasing, socially fashionable, low-cost, low-skill, low-risk, low-maintenance system that could also serve as the bedrock for a future war-fighting platform. If that all sounds like an astronomically tall order to you, then congratulations on being a normal, sane person. However, if you stop and think about it for a moment, you'll realize that I've just described a gun, a truck, and a smartphone all in the course of the same single run-on sentence. You can probably see the heavy influence of the obsolete exo frames, particularly in the Mrs. Dino model, but since I don't have magical, unfathomably advanced alien technology to lean on, I've had to modify the shape somewhat. To lay out my thought process in the simplest possible terms, what do we have already that's cheap, widely available, and so simple a child can use it? A bicycle. If you trade the wheels on a bike out for legs, what do you get? A horse. If you take 2 legs off a horse and adjust its center of balance to compensate, what do you get? A dinosaur. And what's more fashionable/cooler than riding a dinosaur? Riding a mechanical dinosaur. Hence the design you see before you. Now, I must stress that these are meant only as the crudest conceptual models, not the final products, and as such they're shown in their skeletal forms, with none of their full market features like lights, body panels, creature comforts, etc. But be that as it may, this is all just my hypothetical waffling as per usual. Let me know your ideas down below. And speaking of, if any of you who are artistically inclined would like to throw your hat into my ring and possibly have your work featured in a future video, I'll leave links down in the description to both my Twitter and community Discord, though I'm going to warn you in advance, I don't look at either as often as I probably should, considering their purpose. But anyway, I think that'll about do it for another installment of the Why Make Sense When You Can Make Art show. As always, until next time, stay safe, stay sane, and never let sterile reality stand in the way of your having fun. Peace.